Three men, Christian Horner, Helmut Marko and Adrian Newey, have transformed the Red Bull racing team into an absolute juggernaut. The management and technical skills stand out in the competitive F1 world. How did they inject ambition, passion, desire into a flailing team? By utilising some fascinating tactics that ultimately brought Red Bull immense glory. If you want to uncover the most shocking ploy, stick around to the end of the video. So where did it start for Christian Horner, Adrian Newey and Helmut Marko? Well, Stewart Grand Prix was on its way down in the early 2000s. Jackie Stewart and his mentorship were long gone. Ford Motor Company acquired the team from Jackie Stewart in the late 90s, rebranding them to Jaguar Racing, but they just couldn't get the team to perform. During Ford's 5-year stint as a constructor, the team reached the podium on a whopping 2 occasions. Things didn't look great for Ford's racing team at that point. Red Bull owner Dietrich Mateschitz was a huge racing fan. His company sponsored Sauber between 1995 to 2004, but Red Bull wanted more, and they eventually acquired Jaguar Racing in 2004. The team hired former McLaren driver David Coulthard. Rookie manager Christian Horner was also hired as team principal. Many commentators were baffled by these decisions. They felt Horner didn't have much management experience and didn't have an education in management or business administration. Christian Horner didn't have an easy time when he was there and was ripped apart by the media and the fans during those initial years. But Horner persevered. One of the first things he did was sit down with Coulthard and have a heartfelt conversation. Coulthard's career was going nowhere. Many were sceptical about Coulthard since he didn't really live up to the expectations during his stint at McLaren. But Christian Horner knew David Coulthard from his karting days. He helped him believe in his abilities again. Here's what Horner said in an interview with Motorsport magazine. He was already fairly dismayed by what he'd seen at Milton Keynes, but I really wanted to get the best out of him, because when he left McLaren, people thought his career was pretty much at an end. He'd been written off. I wanted to regenerate his self-belief. This move would later on pay massive dividends. The next step was convincing Adrian Newey to move from McLaren. Horner believed that Newey would be able to provide the team with a clear technical direction. Adrian Newey was an experienced hand. He played a critical role as technical director at Williams and McLaren, but Horner didn't know Adrian Newey well enough just to go out and ask him to join. During the 2005 season, Christian Horner spent many racing weekends bumping into Newey at the paddock. Let's look at what Horner has to say about his first meeting with Newey. That first time in the Imola paddock, where we were next to the silent grey McLaren motorhome. I found Adrian outside looking up at the energy station. He was curious and he'd come to have a look. I'd never had a conversation with him before, but in my mind he was absolutely the best in the business. I took him in, showed him around and gave him a drink. He couldn't help but see the contrast between McLaren's way and our way. Back then, Red Bull had a reputation for being a gimmicky team. The Red Bull Motorhome and Hospitality Centre was an immense building that played loud music all weekend long. Things like the energy station weren't heard of in the motorsport world. Let's see what Adrian Newey initially thought about Red Bull. Red Bull Racing was always having big discos. Was this a team that could be taken seriously? But if you went beneath that veneer, then to me it looked like yes, it had all the building blocks. Adrian Newey still remembers another chance meeting with Christian Horner in 2005. Newey recently revealed Christian made a habit through the 2005 season that I would be walking into the paddock. I think Silverstone has the clearest memory. He always happened to be walking. There was another chance interchange that we started to talk a bit more, and then this gentleman in a black leather jacket suddenly popped out from behind the truck and said, "I'm Helmut Marko, here is my card, we will ring." This was one of Christian Horner's finest moments. After being dismayed by many as someone with no management experience, he managed to convince Newey to join Red Bull Racing as Chief Technical Officer. He then convinced Dietrich Mateschitz to hire the world's highest paid racing car designer. Even David Coulthard played a part in convincing Adrian Newey to join. You see, Coulthard and Newey had already worked together previously at Williams and McLaren. David Coulthard made it clear that Red Bull was not a party team or a marketing stunt. They were ambitious and hungry for success. It is this kind of hard work and perseverance that paved the way for Red Bull's later success. In 2005, Red Bull was still using Cosworth engines from the Jaguar racing days. In 2006, they entered a deal with Ferrari for their V8 engines. At Monaco, David Coulthard finished third, earning the team its first podium place. 2007 onwards, the team shifted to using Renault engines, and that's where things started to change. By 2009, David Coulthard retired, and in came a young and hungry Sebastian Vettel. Sebastian Vettel then went on to smash pretty much every record over the next 5 seasons. Even in 2009, it was no secret that Sebastian Vettel was a skilled driver. Christian Horner identified 4 major qualities in Vettel that set him apart from the competition. He was hungry for success, was a strategic thinker, had great work ethic, and most importantly, Seb had a great sense of humour. Let's check out what Horner thought about young Sebastian Vettel. When we were looking for a replacement for David Coulthard, he was the emerging young charger. What we saw in him was that he's got a great sense of humour. He's a deep thinker with a huge work ethic. He'd be longer in the paddock than any other driver poring over the data, and that made him so popular within the team. Adrian Newey, while reflecting on the Seb years, said it was Vettel who pushed the team to work harder. The entire team saw that Vettel was willing to go the extra mile, so the team was motivated. Adrian Newey recently said, if he had made a mistake, then he would want to understand how it was a mistake, what he could do better. He was very rarely made the same mistake twice. That dedication, that played into the team as well. Now, let's come to the Max Verstappen era. At the end of the 2022 season, Red Bull saw double world title success with Verstappen, topping the World Drivers' Championship and the team winning the Constructors' Championship. And we cannot forget the unbelievable win in the 2021 season as well. Christian Horner believes that Max Verstappen has achieved so much in such a short span. We can't predict what lies ahead for him. While considering Verstappen for the Red Bull seat, Horner saw a clear difference between Vettel and Verstappen. He revealed, Sebastian was very Germanic in his work ethic. He worked very hard. Max, just a very natural, raw ability that was a hunger and determination like I've never seen before. So very different in so many ways, but very similar in their determination and the desire to want to win, to want to be the best. Horner also felt that Verstappen's cool and calm demeanour reminded him of Sebastian Vettel. This is where Helmut Marko plays a key role. It's his job to find the race seats for all the drivers in the Red Bull stable. He also looks at promotions to the senior team. Sebastian Vettel, Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen were all promoted by Helmut Marko. Interestingly, what Helmut Marko can give, he can also take away just as easily. He was quite ruthless in removing Daniel Kvyat from the senior team just 4 races into the 2015 season. This move made space for the young lad, Max Verstappen. Though Helmut Marko's actions may seem harsh, he has a knack for finding talent. Now let's look at one of the biggest secrets under Red Bull's hood: mastery over the human element. Modern F1 teams have massive budgets and state-of-the-art facilities. The cars have advanced sensors that provide incredible amounts of real-time data. The teams have access to large amounts of computing power for running simulations. But the human element is one thing that many teams forget. Adrian Newey revealed how he dealt with the period when Mercedes dominated the sport. He said, I think one of the strengths of the team, as we put our heads down, got through that period. Once we had a good power unit again, with a partnership from Honda, then we were able to respond. That dry spell was probably difficult for the team since they just enjoyed 4 championship wins. Christian Horner admits that it was very easy for an organisation that's got used to winning for people's heads to drop and lose their motivation. The most important thing was keeping the team together, focusing on the things we could control, that we could influence. By mastering the human element both on the driver's side and the team, Red Bull was in a position during the 2021 season where they were legitimate title challengers. But it seems like during the end of the 2022 season, Red Bull forgot about this element. During the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, Max Verstappen publicly refused to follow team orders. Christian Horner recently revealed why that situation came about. The root cause of the problem we never envisaged being in 6th and 7th places in the final lap of that Grand Prix. It was something that hadn't envisaged and we hadn't discussed it before the race. That was a mistake on our part. We should have thought about it or tried to think through every single scenario. So that was a mistake as a team that we didn't discuss it and come up with a very clear plan. Horner and Red Bull team quickly diffused the tensions between the two drivers. Both Verstappen and Perez were encouraged to have an open discussion about the issue. Horner now assures everyone that it will not turn into a multi-21 situation. So, what do you think of the tactics used by Horner, Newey and Marko? Will they be able to sustain the success in the coming seasons as well, or must all good things come to an end? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video about Christian Horner and co, we think you'll love the video on your screen now.